Hi there, welcome back to Journey Through John. We have read John 19 today. John 19 is the whole retelling of Jesus' death. It starts with Pilate in the midst of a big decision he has to make. He doesn't want to make this decision. He doesn't agree with what the Jewish leaders are saying about this man. He is confused, conflicted. He is afraid. He does not want to do this, but he feels pressured. So he takes Jesus. Jesus is flogged. That flogging is very brutal torture. Jesus is mocked with a crown of thorns, and that's put on his head. And then they mock him with adorning him with a purple robe. They mock him with saying, "Hail, King of the Jews." They strike him with their hands. Twice Pilate declares to the Jewish people, "Behold the man." The word behold alone is a word of worship. It's almost like cherish, or I'm presenting this wonderful man. Behold the man. But the response of the people, the Jewish people and the leaders, is crucify him, crucify him. Pilate wants to have some reason to be able to stop what's going on. And he says to Jesus in verse 10, "Will you not speak to me? Do you not know that I have the authority to release you and the authority also to crucify you?" But Jesus answered, "You would not have authority over me unless it has been given you from above. Therefore, he who has delivered me over to you has greater the sin." You see, Jesus knew where this power came from. We know the scripture's very clear in saying that, I think it's in Daniel, that God appoints leaders and opposes them. So God has appointed Pilate for such a time as this, and the authority given to Pilate comes straight from God. Pilate sought to release him, but the Jews cried out once again. The Jewish argument at this point is, he's saying he's king, therefore he is opposing Caesar. And so Pilate heard these words and brought Jesus out again and said once again, "Behold your king. Away with him, said the people. And Pilate said once again, "Shall I crucify your king?" And they said, "We have no king but Caesar." So Pilate delivered him over to be crucified. When they took him, Pilate penned an inscription to put on the cross that says, "Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews." But the Jewish people read this inscription and said, "No, you should say, 'This man said, I am King of the Jews.'" And Pilate answered, "What I have written, I have written." You know, to be Pilate in this story, I think we're always faced in life with decisions, serious decisions, and this decision to crucify Jesus is of the utmost serious. I'm thankful we have a sovereign God. We know in God's control and plan that he intended for Jesus to be crucified, that this was not ultimately the plans of man, but the plans of God to save us. But when we look at decisions we need to make, I think we are pressured and pushed, conflicted and confused. And we kind of go through the motions sometimes. Sometimes we go to impress others. When we don't really know who we are and who's really leading us, will say one thing and do another. Knowing Jesus and knowing how determined he was to get to the cross on our behalf, it's my heart that we would be like him, and that we would seek, make choices based in what honors the Lord and what glorifies the Lord. This does not feel like it's going to honor the Lord or glorify the Lord, but it certainly does, because it fulfills the prophecy written in Isaiah 53. And so as I close this time, I'm going to read verse 1 through 6 as the completion of John 19 comes together with the death, Jesus' side pierced, and his burial. It says in Isaiah 53, "Who has believed what he has heard from us? To whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? For he grew up before him like a young plant, and like a root out of dry ground. He has no form or majesty that we should look at him, and no beauty that we should desire him. He was despised and rejected by men, a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief. And as one whom men hide their faces, he was despised, and we esteemed him not. Surely he was born of our griefs and carried by our sorrows, yet we esteemed him stricken, smitten by God, and afflicted." And here's the crucifixion right in Isaiah, the prophet Isaiah saying, "But he was pierced for our transgressions, he was crushed for our iniquities. Upon him was the chastisement that brought us peace, and with his wounds we are healed." Wow. So Jesus' rebuke and his pain and his suffering has brought us peace. He's the Prince of Peace and the deliverer of peace. And by his wounds, we are healed. Because we, all of us, are like sheep. We've all gone astray. We have turned, every one of us, to do our own way, our own things. But the Lord has laid on him the iniquity, the sin of us all. Take some time and read Isaiah 53 today. Marvel in this God that would walk on this earth in our flesh, receive our punishment so that we could have peace and healing. I'm so thankful for God. I'm thankful for Jesus. I'm praying for you. Read John 20, and we'll talk about that tomorrow. Take care.